Hi, everybody. We have a very interesting and actually important daf. A little viewer discretion. Tonight's daf is going to be a little bit graphic. You might not want to be eating dinner while we're studying this. It's a lot about cleaning yourself after one goes to the bathroom. However, there is an important halacha here that what do you do on Shabbat when you're in the bathroom and you see that there is no ripped toilet paper and no tissues, right? This is the scariest moment of any Jew on Shabbat, and so we will see tonight the resolution to that difficult problem. Okay, so we start with the Mishnah on Daf Pe Aleph 81. Aitzem kedei la'asot tarvad, Rabbi Yehuda omer kedei la'asot mimenu haf. If one is carrying outside in the Reshut Rabim bone, then, as with everything, there's a shiur. What's the minimum size for which one would be liable a hatat? If it's just a tiny piece that's not important, then patur, because it's like you're not carrying anything. But the minimum size is the minimum size that's usable. And so for a bone, it would be the smallest amount to make a spoon out of that bone. And Rabbi Yehuda, however, says, no, even smaller than that, enough to make, well, we'll see if it's bigger or smaller, enough to make a key. A key in those days looked something like this over here. Okay, that would be the smallest amount. I know there's a lot of technical details, but they are important halachically, but they're also important in terms of realia to understand like what was going on in the ancient world. A lot of times if you read history, is the history of the politicians and kings and things like that, but what were everyday people doing? How did they live? How did they do their basic things? What did they make a spoon out of? And so they had some bone china, animal bones, of course. Okay, so that's the minimum size of a bone. Zichuchit, a shard of glass. Kedeli gror bo rosh hakarkar. That would be to sharpen the stick that a weaver uses in a loom if you need to separate some of the strings. You'd use this, and it has to be sharp. You can use that small piece of glass to sharpen it. Seror or eben kedei lizrok ba'of. Rabbi Elazar bar Yaakov omer kedei lizrok ba'behema. If it's a pebble or a stone, the smallest amount would be one that small enough to throw at a bird if you want to scare the bird away. Rabbi Elazar bar Yaakov says it's easy to scare a bird away. You just shoo it. Instead, it's a little bit bigger. It would be the size to scare away an animal or to make it move. All right, that's the Mishnah. We talked about stones. That's going to become the main subject for today. But first, we talk about the other items. Lememra, the shiura de Rabbi Yehuda nafish. Hakamalan de shiura de Rabbanan nafish. It sounds from this that the measurement of Rabbi Yehuda is bigger. That he's more mekel because the key. Look at this key right here is bigger than a spoon. However, we saw that in other cases regarding the length of a string, Rabbi Yehuda is machmir. So over here also he should be machmir. So perhaps we misunderstood what he meant. Amar ola hape potachat. He wasn't talking about the entire key, but rather only the teeth of the key would be made out of stone. And if it's if you take out of bone, if you take out bone that size, then one is chayav. And so therefore you see that he is machmir. That's a smaller amount than making a spoon. A little bit more on the subject of keys and locks. Tanura banan hape potachat tehorin. If you have the key, the teeth of a key are by themselves are tahor. In other words, they're not a utensil. So anything that's not a utensil cannot become tameh. If it's a metal, something made out of metal is not tameh unless it can hold water. But something made out of bone could be tameh even if it doesn't hold water. But this by itself is not useful at all. However, if you affix them to the key, now they're together, it becomes a utensil and can become tameh. ושלגל אף על פי שחיברן בדלת וקבען במסמרין טהורין שכל המחובר לקרקע הרי הוא כקרקע. If you affix them to a lock and the lock is attached to a door and nailed onto it, then it's tahor because it's connected to a door or a gate which is connected to the ground. And this is a very important principle. Anything that's attached to the ground is like the ground. The ground itself can never become tameh. We're not Zoroastrians who did think that it could. And so therefore, if this lock or the keys to these teeth are attached to the door, then they cannot become tameh. Very good. Zechuchit, now glass, kedeli grorbo. We said enough to sharpen that the utensil that weavers stick. Tana zechuchit kedeli soa ba shene nimin kachat. However, we have a tosefta that gives an alternate tradition. The smallest amount of glass is to cut 2 threads at once. Seems to me that would be a smaller amount. Just to cut 2 threads would be a smaller amount than needed to sharpen a piece of wood. And now we get to the stones. Seroro eben kedei lizrok ba'of Rabbi Elazar v'chule. Amar Rabbi Yaakov bar Amar Rabbi Yochanan v'hu shemargeshet ba. The stone that you're throwing at the animal has to be big enough that the animal can feel it. Otherwise, it's useless. V'chamashiro. How big is that? Tanya Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer Mishkal Asara Zuz. Has to be the weight of 10 zuz for it to actually have an effect on the animal. Okay, and now we get to the laws of cleaning oneself in the bathroom. And they're introduced by Zunin, interesting person. He lives at the time of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. He's not called rabbi, but although he is a great sage, his name is similar to the Greek name Zenon, or Zenon, which seems to mean Zeus's gift. So that's interesting that even the great sage has such a Hellenistic name. So Zunin once came to the Bet Midrash, al Bet Midrasha, amar lehu, Rabbotai, abanim shel Bet HaKiseh, shi'oran bechama. What is the size of stones that one is allowed to bring into the bathroom? All right, let's explain what this is all about. Stones are mukseh on Shabbat, right? Because in general, they have no use. Sand, right? Things like that. And so, so therefore, this is midrabanan. One is not allowed to touch them, to move them. However, stones are useful because that's what people in the ancient times used to clean themselves. And so really the best thing to do is to, before Shabbat, you go and get some stones. You said, these are the stones I'm going to use, and you put them in the bathroom. The problem is sometimes maybe you forget, or you might not be around. You're walking on the way, you got to go wherever you got to go, and so you find some stones there. And so the rabbis want to minimize this. Now, there's an important halacha that we'll see here, that the rabbis say, Mepene kevod habiriyot hekelu rabbanan. When it comes to something that's only asur midrabanan, if there's a problem of kivod habiriyot, it's not dishonorable to go out smelly and dirty. And so, for the sake of honor, the rabbis do not make a gezerah. And so you don't have to, you can, the gezerah never applies, of mukseh never applied, the rabbis never had in mind that it should apply in that case. So therefore, if you didn't set aside stones before Shabbat, then you can use stones. But it should be the minimal amount, and that's what Zunin is asking. What is the proper amount beforehand? You know, you're going to have to go. You're going to go get some stones and take it with you to the outhouse, wherever you're going to go. What is the proper amount of stones that one should handle to properly clean oneself without doing anything more? Okay, so Amrulo kezait kaegoz kabetzai. You should bring 3 stones of 3 different sizes. The first one, an olive size, then a nut size, and then an egg size. And this is good advice. Use them in that order. First, the small one to clean out inside, then the little bit larger one to clean around the area, then the egg one to clean the whole area. If you do the opposite way, it's just going to smear. It's not good. I told you it's going to be graphic tonight. Okay. Amar lehu v'chi turtani yachnis. Zunin says, what, I have to bring a scale with me everywhere I go? I have to start measuring each stone, how big it is, right? This is too complicated. Nimnu v'gamru, so they had a whole discussion about that, and they took a vote. Miyad, meloyad, you take a handful. Doesn't matter, you don't have to worry how big or small they are. Take a handful, maybe there'll be some extra, but that should be sufficient. Tanya, Rabbi Yosef Omer, kezayit kegoz kabetza, B'Shimon Rabbi Yosef Omer Mishum Aviv Melo Hayad. And sure enough, we have a baraita where these 2 opinions that we see in last generation Tanaim are already expressed a generation before. Rabbi Yosef says it should be these 3 stones of these 3 sizes. And Rabbi Shimon ben Rabbi Yosef said the name of his father that you just take a handful. Okay, so those are the 2 opinions, but they voted and decided to take a handful. All right, so more in the subject. Tanu Rabbanan b'Shabbat shalosh abanim mikul zalot mutar lachnis lebet hakiseh. On Shabbat, you're allowed to take 3 shapen stones, right, that have the right shape, into sharpened into the bathroom with you. V'kama shi'uran, how big? Rabbi Meir omer ke'egoz, all 3 the size of a nut. Rabbi Yehuda omer kabesa, all 3. He has the size of an egg. I guess they had different practices. Amar Rav Rafram bar Papa, Amar Rav Chisda, kemachloket kan, kach machloket be'etrog. Rav Rafram notices that the same machloket they have here, Rabbi Meir says the size of a nut, Rabbi Yehuda says the size of a kabetza, is paralleled in Masechet Sukkah, where they're talking about what's the minimum size of an etrog. You can't have a too tiny etrog. And over there, the same. Rabbi Meir says the smallest etrog is egoz. Rabbi Yehuda's smallest etrog is a kabetza. So he says, this is a good way to remember it, right? Now, if you know what they say over here about the stones, then you can remember what they say about an etrog. And then hold on. Now the Gemara asks, Hatamat nitin hachab bariyata. Over that is a Mishnah. Everybody knows the Mishnah. This one is only a baraita. Not everybody knows the baraita, so you should switch it around. Ela kemachloket be'etrog, kach machloket kan. If you know, everybody knows the Mishnah over there. Since you know that, you can use that to remember here that Rabbi Meir is the one who says the smaller ones. Rabbi Yehuda is a little bit more mekel and says you can carry the bigger ones. Not carry, you're talking about mukseh. Okay, Amar Rav Yehuda. Avalo et pais. What you cannot do is you use a pais to clean oneself. What is that? My pais, Amar Rabbi Zera, karshane bablayata. A clod of Babylonian earth, soft and flaky earth. This is not a good idea. Amar Rava, asur lemashmesh bisuror b'Shabbat kederech shemashmesh b'chol. Someone has constipation, one should not massage the area as one would do on a weekday, and should not do that on Shabbat. Matkifla morzutra listaken. What do you mean? Don't do that. But then it will be dangerous. The rabbis were very against holding it in. They, this is, you got to get it out. So, what are you going to do? This is no kilachad yad. I didn't mean that at all. But just you massage the area, but do it in a different way than normal with the back of the hand, and we use a shinui, and then that's okay. Amar Rabbi Yanai, im yesh makom kabua lebet hakiseh melo hayad. Im lav kechreya medocha ketana shel besamim. If you have a set place where one goes to the bathroom, then you bring a handful. Why a handful? Because if you have some left over, then you'll use it later in the day when you go again. So you're not wasting, you're not preparing for later, right? It still is useful. And if not, then you should bring an average size stone, the one that would be as big as a small mortar, like the mortar and pestle, right? That size of the mortar, to crush some spices, a small one. That would be appropriate size, so yeah, you're not moving too much more than necessary. Amad of Sheshat, im yesh aleh ha'ed mutar. All right, if you see a stone and it's evident that it was used before, in other words, it's a little dirty, then you can use it because it's not mukseh. Someone else had it in mind to use it, so now the reuse makes it not mukseh. If that sounds gross, then don't worry. The Gemara also thought it was. Metibeh. Asara devarim mevi'in et ha'adam lideh tachtoniyot. There are 10 things that bring someone to suffer from hemorrhoids. And they are ha'ochel kaneh kanim, eating leaves of bulrushes, le gefanim, grape leaves. I guess they didn't like gebra. Lulebe gefanim, morige behema belo melach, the tendrils of grapevines, the palate and tongue of an animal if you eat them without salt. Shidro shel dag, spine of a fish, dag maliach shelo bishel kol sorko, salty fish if it's not fully cooked. Hashotesh shimrei yain, the dregs of wine. Hamekanech basido bacharsit, don't clean yourself with lime or clay. Do not reuse a stone that someone else used. Also, one who suspends himself. In other words, don't just squat, but rather lean on something, sit on something. Otherwise, all these things could be dangerous for hemorrhoids. And so here we have a machlok, we have a problem, because this baraita says, no, it's not a braita. It's this source says that one should not use a stone that someone else already wiped with. And over here, Rav Sheshat says, if someone already wiped with it, that's a good sign. That's mutar because it's not mukseh. But we just see this is dangerous. Oh, we have a couple of answers. Habelach, habiyabesh. If it's still moist, in other words, it was used recently, that's dangerous. But if it was all dried out, it was a while ago, then it's okay, it won't be dangerous. Or you can say it's permitted if only if both sides were used, then it's no good. But if only one side was used, then use the other side, then it's okay. Or if you see that you were the one that used it yourself, and now you're reusing it, it's your own, that's okay, it's your own germs. But if someone else used it, then that is dangerous. Do not do that. Okay. What if it rained on it, and now it kind of looks clean, so you can't really tell if it was used or not? Even if it rubbed out, but you could still tell that there was a little bit of on it from the previous user, then it's allowed. You can assume that's not mukseh. Can you bring these stones up to the roof if one wants to relieve himself on the roof? The problem is, number one, mukseh, but also there's a tirha. It's a lot of work in carrying these stones up to the roof, and Shabbat you should rest. And here's a very important principle, that the honor of human dignity is so great you can override even a Torah prohibition. Now, in this case, happens to be it's not a Torah prohibition; it's simply mukseh, which is officially D'Rabbanan, although it is a very serious D'Rabbanan. The truth is that mukseh is already found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It says don't move sand and rocks. And so you see that this was a long-standing practice. And if you look at Rambam, the way he codifies it as almost like a deoraita. And so in that sense, perhaps it's saying lo taseh Shabbat Torah. Also, this phrase comes up in other cases. For example, the Torah says if you see a lost item, you have to return it to its owner. But what if you're an elderly person or frail person or dignified, and you see the thing that someone dropped, a box that's all leaky and big, and it's below your dignity to go around carrying this box. So the rabbis say then you don't have to return it. And there it is law from the Torah, and yet because of kavod beriyot, you don't have to do it. So that might be the original context, and so we're using it here, even though here technically it is it's not technically a deoraita. The application I'll mention now for what do you do if you're stuck in a bathroom somewhere and you didn't have Shabbat toilet paper prepared, you didn't cut it before, you didn't have tissues. Halacha is that you can still use the toilet paper, but you cut it bishinui, right? You rip it kilachar yad in some different way than you usually do. And since even if ripping the toilet paper is deoraita, like if you're doing it carefully, you want a certain measurement for a productive purpose. If you do bishinui, it's rabbanan, and so certainly for kavod haberiyot, that is permitted. All right, this is the source for that halacha. Okay, so anyway, so the question is, can you take the stones up to the roof? He said, yes, it's okay. So Merema was repeating this, and Rabina asked him, Rabbi Eliezer Omer notel adam kisam mishelefanav lachasot bo shinav v'achamim omerim lo yitol ella min ha'evush shel behema. If you're sitting and you finished eating, you can take and you want a toothpick. You can take a toothpick from anything that's lying around, any wood chip, even though it wasn't prepared from before Shabbat. That's Rabbi Eliezer. Hachamim say, no, you have to take from something that you have in mind, which would be the trough of the animal made out of wood. You take a little piece of that, and so since that's something that's useful already, it's not mukseh, so that's what you have to do. And here, this is a place this is a situation of kavod habiriyot. It's not nice to go around with food stuck between your teeth. But yet you have to take it from the trough of the animal. You can't just take it from any piece of wood. So there's a question, right? Because here it seems to be not allowed to use mukseh for kavod habiriyot. We answer, Hachi Ashta, is that the same? Hatam Adam Kovea Makom LeSeuda. Hacha Adam Kovea Makom LeBet HaKiseh. It's different. Everybody, you know where you're going to eat, right? You set from before Shabbat, I'm going to eat in this place. So make sure to have something around that you know you're going to need to clean your teeth. But we're leaving oneself. You never know where you're going to be, and so you can't always have prepared the rocks. And so therefore, for Kibbut HaBidiyot, if it's not prepared, one is allowed to carry them. Very good. Amar Rav Huna, asuli panot bisde nir b'Shabbat. Rav Huna says one is not allowed to relieve oneself in a field that was plowed. My ta'ama, ilema mishum davsha. If you say, what's the reason? If you say because the furrows are nice, and if you're going to go and step on the guy's field, then you're smashing down the soil. And the whole point of the furrows is to make room and make the soil soft. And so you are annoying the guy. You're taking away from his property. You're ruining his property. So if that's the reason, afilu b'chol nameh, that's not only the law of Shabbat. Anytime you shouldn't be allowed. Ella mishum asabim. If it's because that you will if he'll clean himself with grasses, that grew. You don't have to worry that the grass will be uprooted during that act, because Resh Lakish says you can take even a rock that has some grass on it and use it, and even if some grass falls off, that's not your intention, so you don't care about that. Only if you do it on purpose, if you specifically want to take it off. But if that's not your intention, it's happening by itself, it should be okay. So that's not that can't be the reason either. Rather, the problem is you're going to take some soil or a rock or a rock from something high, then use it, then throw it down to a place that's lower, and that would be a problem, as we saw a few dapim ago. If you had a hole and you filled it in a house, it's a problem of building. You're filling in a hole and making the floor smooth. That's a problem of building. If it's in a field, it's a problem of plowing. You're moving around the dirt, and so one should not use a field that was recently plowed, because the dirt is uneven and you can end up evening it out. Okay, Gufa. Now you just mentioned this law about Resh Lakish, which was important. Amar Resh Lakish, seror she'alu bo asabim mutar lekaneach bah v'atoleh shemenu b'Shabbat chayav hatat. If you find a rock with some grass on it, you're allowed to use it, because it's not your goal. Only if you purposely remove the grass, then chayav hatat. Amar Rav Papi. This is not Rav Papa, although he was a colleague and lived at the same time as Rav Papa. Papi says, Shema mina Resh Lakish, hai parpisa share letaltole. We can learn from here that if you have a flower pot that's perforated on the bottom, that you are allowed to move it, because it's the same thing. Just like this rock has grass on it, and you're picking up the rock, even though it was connected to the ground, so too a flower pot that was connected to the ground, because it does have a hole in it, so you should be also allowed to carry it. It looks like it's the same case. No, you can't derive that from there. We only said it's allowed l'tzorech, because people have to clean themselves. And so we said, Kivod HaBeriyot, the rabbis made extra leniencies for that, but you can't apply the law of going to the bathroom to, if it's just a flower pot that you like to have somewhere else. No, that's not okay. Flower pot would not be allowed. If you pick it up, it's Tole Amar Abaye, Parpi Sahoil Batali Adan, Lema Bamilta. Abaye says, oh, you mentioned Parpi. Let me say a couple of halachot about the flower pot. Hayem Munach Al Gabe Karka, V'Nichol Gabe Yetedot, Mi Chayev Mishum Tolesh. If you take a flower pot that was on the floor and you put it on top of a stand, then you are violating Tolesh, detaching from the ground. Hayem Munach Al Gabe Yetedot, V'Nichol Al Gabe Karka. Chayav mishum noteya. If it was on a stand and you put it on the ground, then you are chayav because of planting. Not clear if he means that these are literally deoraita. One would be asur. If so, we can understand before when it said you're allowed to do things even midoraita for kavod haberiyot, if this in fact is deoraita. Or if he's saying it's dabanan, but it's similar to these acts which are deoraita. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, asur lekanech becheres b'Shabbat. I want to pay attention to who's saying what here, because this is a very, very interesting dialogue. Rabbi Yochanan says one is not allowed to wipe oneself with earthenware, with a broken piece of pottery on Shabbat. And the question is why? My ta'ama, ilema mishum sakana. If it's because it's dangerous, the pottery can be sharp and you'll end up cutting yourself. And so this is not a good idea. However, afilu b'chol nameh, but even all week long, you should not allow to endanger yourself. So why does Rabbi Yochanan say specifically b'Shabbat? Interesting, in the Talmud Yerushalmi, he quotes a Tosefta in the name of Rabbi Chaya, where it says also asur lekanech becheres, but doesn't have the word b'Shabbat. Which sounds like, yeah, all the time it's not allowed. But this version, Rabbi Yochanan's version, has b'Shabbat. So that can't be the reason he said it. It was believed that this is a superstitious problem, that if one wipes himself with earthenware, it's bad for witchcraft. Magic can apply to that person. He makes himself vulnerable to curses, and so. But that's true all week long if you believe in that, and so it's not special for Shabbat. Ella mishum hasharat nimin. If you say it's because by using a sharp thing like an earthenware, you may cut some hairs in that area. So maybe that would only apply on Shabbat. Only on Shabbat you're not allowed to cut hairs. During the week will be okay. However, that still shouldn't be a problem because I'm not intending to do that. Person's only intending to wipe himself. He doesn't care about the hairs. So that shouldn't matter. And so we have three possibilities, and we reject them all. So now back to our question. How about Rabbi Yochanan? Why did he say the statement that you can't wipe yourself with earthenware on Shabbat? Amar lehu Rav Natan bar Oshaya. Rav Natan bar Oshaya said to them. In Vatican manuscript, it says Amar le. Rav Natan said to him. But who is he speaking to? Well, let's see what he said first. Gavrada ba amar milleta nema bar ta'ama. A great person said something. We have to give a reason for it. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan is a great sage, and so if this is he said something that looks like it's not understandable, we should not simply reject it and say it's nonsense. He's a great sage. Let's find some interpretation to justify what he said. And here it is. Lami ba'ya behol de asur. Ava b'Shabbat, hoil ve'ika torat keli alav, shapir dameh, kamashma lan. So the answer is, of course, yes, during the week, you're not allowed to use this. Because of it's dangerous or because of witchcraft, you're not allowed to use during the week. Everybody knows that. But you might think that on Shabbat, there's a benefit because this is a utensil. In other words, a rock, that's saying you find a rock around, it's mukseh, right? Because it has no use. But something that was a jar, and the jar broke, but even though the jar broke, the utensil, the pieces, the shards of it, if they're of a big enough size, they're useful for lots of things. You can scoop up coals, you can hold a little bit of water in them, and so the shards are useful, and you have in mind, so they're not mukseh. So you might have thought, you know what, on Shabbat, you can use these earthenware shards, even though we don't use them on Shabbat. That's what Rabbi Yochanan had to come and emphasize. Not only are they not allowed on during the week, but they asur lekanech b'acheres b'Shabbat. Even on Shabbat, where they're not mukseh, it's still prohibited because it's dangerous. And so Rabbi Natan recognizes that he has to interpret, fit this into the words a bit. Not exactly what he said, but he'd rather give some interpretation than reject it altogether. And so he settles on that. Okay, now you see my question here. Rav Natan Bar Oshaya said, to whom? Well, the previous statements were all said by anonymous, right? By Stamad de Gemara. By Ta'ama, there is someone, right? The Stamad de Gemara is analyzing Rabbi Yochanan. And it seems that Rav Natan here is saying to them, the anonymous voice that asked these questions. And so you see here, this is an example of where an Amora, he's actually early in Amora, second, third generation Amora, Rav Natan, who did interact with Rabbi Yochanan. In other words, he did meet and study from Rabbi Yochanan. Obviously, Rabbi Yochanan was not around when he was analyzing this statement, otherwise he could have asked him. But it seems like this stam is an early stam, right? Usually we think that anything that's an anonymous must be late from the editors, and usually that's the case. But here that doesn't work, because Natan is talking to somebody and would not really be understandable unless you had this part beforehand. Okay, anyway, that's very interesting from editorial point of view in terms of the layers. Rava matnila mishum hasharat nimin. Rava had a version of Rabbi Yochanan where he learned that asur lekanech beches b'Shabbat mishum hasharat minin. He said the reason that Rabbi Yochanan said is in fact because it will cut hairs if one uses a pot shard. And so, but this is a problem because now he has a contradiction. Rabbi Yochanan said something the opposite. Mi amar Rabbi Yochanan asur lekanech beches b'Shabbat. Could he have said it's not allowed? And because it's cutting hairs, that would mean that he thinks that something that you don't intend to do is prohibited. And in another case, he said that halacha is like stam mishnah. He made a general rule that halacha is like stam mishnah. Rabbi Yochanan, the greatest first early generation sage of Eretz Yisrael, is the author of all the rules about what to do when the Mishnah has a machloket. It's not clear what the halacha is. He gave all the rules of what to do. And since he says halacha is stam mishnah, and the stam mishnah says about a nazir is not allowed to remove hair anytime. That's part of the vows. He is allowed to wash his hair with these different items, even though sand and natron, even though and use his fingers to separate it, even though it's likely that will remove hairs. And he says, you don't have to worry about that because davar shemit kaven. And so that's okay. And so you see here in this Mishnah, which Rabbi Yochanan agrees with, he says, davar shemit kaven mutar. And so therefore he cannot, there's a problem because up here he said, davar shemit kaven asur, using a pot shard is not allowed because it will move hairs. So we have a contradiction between these two statements. So we reject this. Rather, we should go back to Rav Natan Bar Oshaya's interpretation, which is better than Rava's, because Rava is going to be confronted with this contradiction. Okay, see, this contradiction is like already embedded here. It seems that Rav Natan knew it, and that's why he did not want to say it that way. Okay, and last item, my keshafim. What is this keshafim that you're talking about? The witchcraft we're afraid of. One time these rabbis were going out in a boat. Amara lehu lehi matronita. A certain important woman was there and said, "Otaban behadaichu, let me come and on the boat with you. I want to also go on this journey." They did not let her. For whatever reason, there was no room. I don't know. Amara ihi milleta asatal arba. She said a magic formula and stopped the boat, and now they couldn't go. Amru inhu milleta sharyuha. The rabbi said a magic formula, and they allowed the boat to go. They had their formula was more powerful. Amra lehu ma'ebi lehu mekanach lehu bechaspa. So the woman said, "What can I do? My magic doesn't have power over you because you don't clean yourself with pot shards." You see, if they did clean themselves with pot shards, then they would be more suspect of witchcraft. And you don't kill a louse while it's on your garments. You take it off first and then you kill it. And you don't just pull out a vegetable from a bundle, or rather you untie the bundle, take one out, and then retie it. So these are all things that are the would be bad, dangerous for witchcraft if one did them. And so these rabbis did not do any of them, and that's why they were safe from witchcraft. Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen ve'amen.